What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another podcast of Football Talk with Hawk. I am Hawk, and wow, what a day! What a day we had. I am recording this Thursday morning after a wild and wacky Wednesday. That just wow. Um, whew. All right, so this is, as the title says, I told you guys at the end of the last podcast that this would be the draft order podcast and kind of run down, where all the teams are, what they're looking at, what they could be looking at, potential trades. We're going to run down a lot of different ideas, and we'll conjecture a little bit tonight. But I want to open up with the two big, ginormous coaching things that did happen today, one in college and one in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks fired Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll still wants to coach. This is wild. I mean, this is wild, guys. Not gonna lie. I didn't think he was gonna get fired. I really didn't. The Seattle Seahawks have the 16th pick in the NFL draft this year. So not terribly high. But they really don't have a bunch of needs. The team is good. To me, the team is set up between the cap, the position players. To me, the team is actually set up better than the Chargers are. And because for that reason of the cap looks a lot better. I really don't like the cap. I don't like the cap situation with the Chargers. I don't like the fact that you're going to have to get rid of key pieces when you take the job. So the team that you currently have is not the team you're going to end up having at all. And that's what bothers me about the Charger job. The Seahawk job, you got it all. This is interesting. Geno Smith will probably be a backup again. Pete Carroll to the Chargers works. Pete Carroll to the Titans works. I'd even say Pete Carroll to Atlanta works. This really makes things interesting. You now have Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll, two really good coaches that are available. You've got Arthur Smith, who is going to go back into being an offensive coordinator. That is very clear. I think I will forever. I will. This is what I believe. Wherever Dan Quinn goes, he needs to hire Arthur Smith. Wherever Dan Quinn goes, he needs to hire Arthur Smith. That's exactly what is exactly how I feel about it. So Seattle is the 17th. I said we were going to have, last night I said we had 6 openings currently. I said we're going to get a minimum of 2 more, up to 4 more. And Arizona has been quiet in all this. But if I'm Arizona, last year Dan Quinn didn't really want to leave. Ben Johnson did not want to leave Detroit. Raheem Morris is anxious now to get out of the Rams. He wants another shot. If I'm the Cardinals, I have to really 2 first-round picks. And your first pick is 4th in the NFL draft. 2 first-round picks. Kyler Murray. James Conner. I've got to be wondering if I'm going to kick the tires on this. If I can go get a Dan Quinn. Can I get Mike Vrabel in Arizona? Can I get Ben Johnson or Brian Callahan? This is odd. The Cardinals, to me, are still a team to watch. Kudos to the NFL. Black Monday is no longer a huge thing because of the new rule of not being able to hire guys until after the divisional round. Because of that, guys are getting fired throughout the week now. Like, we're still talking about what's going to happen with Belichick. We know Belichick is not going to be the coach of New England. But if Robert Kraft wants Vrabel, he now needs to get on whatever he's going to do. Whatever the move is, he's got to get on it. There are a lot of rumors now circling that Belichick could be going to the Eagles after Sirianni is fired on Monday. What? But it would make sense. That defense underneath Bill Belichick, that defensive line underneath Bill Belichick. Oh my gosh, jeez. He's already got the star quarterback. Josh McDaniels would work perfectly with him. It's really interesting. And the reason we don't have Black Monday, quote unquote, is because we had 3 coaches fired during the season. If you add those 3 to Black Monday, let's think about this for a second. Those 3 to Black Monday would have been 5 head coaches fired on day 1. Arthur Smith from Falcons, Ron Rivera, Washington, Staley, Chargers, McDaniels, Raiders, and Reich, Panthers. That would have been 5 guys gone on, quote-unquote, Black Monday. And then Vrabel on Tuesday and Pete Carroll on Wednesday. Dennis Allen, I still don't believe is safe in New Orleans. I think they're looking at this now going, maybe this is it. Defensive coach doesn't work. Look out. Look out. Dennis Allen could still get fired. Jonathan Gannon could still get fired in Arizona. I still am wondering what the Arizona ownership is watching here. Look out. Pittsburgh, if they get blown out, can still trade Tomlin. This isn't out of conjecture. In Carolina, David Tepper would probably do what the Steelers wanted to get him down there. He's going to get Mike Tomlin if he can get him. Big guy, big name, presence. You know, it's going to take getting a really good offensive coordinator to help Bryce Young. I don't necessarily trust that, but you know what? Whatever. But you've got Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, Dan Quinn, Ben Johnson, Raheem Morris. Now, Raheem Morris, I have never said doesn't deserve another head coaching job. I've said if I'm him, don't leave McVay. Don't do something that's going to potentially worsen what you do. Now, the other side of this is, let's say Raheem Morris leaves. Let's just say Raheem Morris leaves. Brandon Staley comes back. I think Brandon Staley would then be hired back in by Sean McVay, and that defense would once again continue on with what they do. I really do. It wouldn't be a bad move by McVay. And Staley would get back under McVay's umbrella, back under the protection. It'd be a smart move for him. McDaniels is going back to Belichick. Smart move. Frank Reich, I'd still hire him as an offensive coordinator. If you're Raheem Morris, I'd hire Frank Reich. I would hire somebody that can handle the offensive side of the ball only. And you can trust Frank Reich with the offense. You can trust Arthur Smith with the offense. Eric Bieniemy is a great candidate for a lot of these jobs. We've got options. This is going to be interesting. I think Eric Bieniemy to Arizona would be amazing. I think he'd be able to get a defensive coordinator really easily. Really easily. I think there's potential that Michigan's defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, actually gets signed to the NFL because Jim Harbaugh is still going to be out, $25 million a year. It's amazing where we're at. Now, the second part of the news is more of a congratulations. Nick Saban, I hated your Alabama dynasty. I hated everything about it. Yes, dynasties are always hated by certain people. I'm one of them. I just did it. You were an amazing coach. You did something that most coaches can't do and adapted over multiple decades to be able to end where you are right now, make the shift through a defensive game to an offensive game to a really big offensive game to another, to where it is now, where Michigan won with physicality, which is back to Alabama football. Kudos to you, sir. You are the greatest college football coach of all time. Whoever fills in your spot is going to be heavily scrutinized. But Nick Saban, you did it. You did it right. And it was amazing what you did. And the college level, that was amazing. And there is a overwhelming thought that he has now already signed a deal with one of the TV agencies and will be on TV. And you're probably going to find out about that shortly. All right, let's get to the NFL draft. That's what I told you this podcast was about. But there's a lot to do with the coach. The coaching stuff is wild to me, and it's going to change the draft stuff. The coaching issues, the coaching search affects the draft. It really does. But number one, okay, so I'm going to run down the list. I'm going to do this slow. The graphic is on your screen. I did not put my normal graphic up on the screen. I created this graphic for you. So you have the graphic left to right, top to bottom, exactly how you're supposed to do things. So the first pick in the NFL draft is the Chicago Bears. I think it is a huge mistake to have Matt Eberflus be the head coach and potentially be picking Caleb Williams. I do believe that's what's going to happen. Excuse me, I do believe that's what's going to happen. And Justin Fields, and we're going to get to the free agent class in tomorrow's podcast, pending no other news for coaching. We'll get into some of the free agents that are available this year. Now, these will be unrestricted free agents. I have a list that I've compiled through everything that I've got. I've got the list of unrestricted free agents, and you're going to be surprised of who could actually truly be signed by another team. So that will be tomorrow's episode. But let's get into this. So you've got Chicago picking number one. The overwhelming odds and the favorite is Caleb Williams. Now, if you've listened in the past, I haven't gone over the draft too terribly much recently, but I don't like Caleb Williams. I watched 7 of his games all the way through, and I've watched 9 with highlights. I missed 3 of them. But every game that I watched with him, he's athletic. He runs around. You can tell he's gifted. But he really just reminds me of Kyler Murray. And I'm not going to lie. Caleb Williams in Chicago? Really? That guy in Chicago? Cold weather. A kid that is south, went to USC, doesn't handle weather well. I mean, shoot, it ends up, it's 50 degrees and the guy's in a long sleeve shirt. Give me a break. I don't like the fit in Chicago. Drake May to North Carolina makes a lot more sense. You know, Bo Nix from Oregon makes a lot more sense. Bigger, better build, built for Chicago weather. It matters. Jay Cutler was bigger build. He worked in Chicago. Kyle Orton, bigger build. He worked in Chicago. He wasn't a great quarterback, I understand that. But he worked in Chicago. Mitch Trubisky, bigger build. He made the playoffs. I know he's not great. Made the playoffs. It has to be, you've got to be that type of quarterback in Chicago to make it work. This will not happen. This will not happen. But if I'm the Titans and I don't like everything about where I'm at if I'm the next head coach, okay? So if I don't like all of it, if there's a part of the a part of Will Levis' game or a part of what the offense looks like right now, if there's a part of it I don't like, I am simply going to try to trade up. That's it. And if you trade Will Levis to the Bears, Will Levis is bigger build, bigger hands. He can handle it. He can play up there. The Bears move back down. It won't happen. But these are thought processes that GMs need to make, and Chicago just is bad at doing any of it. Chicago is bad because they're still living in 1985. But enough of that. All right, so second pick in the draft, the Washington Commanders. Not sure what their name will be in a couple of years, but for now they are still the Washington Commanders until they move. And it's great. It is fantastic. They're the second pick in the draft. I don't know who the head coach is going to be, but they need to take a quarterback. That is very clear. That is very clear. Drake May would work with Washington. Really would. Really would. Drake May would work if Bill Belichick got traded to Washington and got Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. Drake May would be really good. Number 3, the New England Patriots. Listen, I don't know who Vrabel, yes, I am assuming Vrabel gets hired as the Patriots head coach. If that doesn't happen, then I don't know who it's going to be. Potentially Bill O'Brien. I don't know who, I'm not sure what. I don't like Jaden Daniels like everybody else does. I don't. I don't think he beats out Penix. I just don't. That national championship game, just Michigan looked like a Big Ten. It looked like the old SEC team versus a Pac-12 team. Big and physical, beat fast. And it wasn't particularly close because they didn't approach the game, to me, the same that they approached the games against Oregon. Michigan was just bigger and stronger. And they ran an NFL-style defense. Penix missed some throws. The receivers missed some routes. But I like Penix. I love him in Atlanta. Don't really like him as much in New York for the Giants, but I love him in Atlanta. But the Patriots are going to have to make a hard decision at number 3 on what they want to do at quarterback. Number 4, the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is where Marvin Harrison Jr. goes, hands down, flat out, unless they trade back. This is where the Titans, this is where the Falcons, this is where potentially now the Seahawks, because the ownership group for the Seahawks knows Geno Smith is not the quarterback. So they could try to trade up. The Raiders could try to trade up. Number 4 is the Cardinals. Number 5 is the Chargers. What a pristine pick for a team that doesn't need the number 5 pick. They can trade back. The Raiders, the Seahawks now. I'm going to keep throwing the Seahawks in, and I'm going to throw the Broncos in. Are they going to run with Jarrett Stidham? Are they going to try to make a trade work to move up? What are you going to do? I guess the Broncos were kind of an outlier here. I believe Kirk Cousins re-signs with the Vikings. I believe Aaron Rodgers is obviously with the Jets. That's no question. So those are some teams that are in front of the Broncos. But you got number 5 pick is the Chargers, and number 6 is the Giants. Need a quarterback. Daniel Jones is under contract fully for 1 more year. In the 2025 summer, they can cut him for $22.5 million and be done with it. 22.5 dead cap, they're done. So he plays 2024 as the backup. I think he could be a serviceable backup. But he plays 2024 as the backup and is cut in the offseason in 2025. That is my guess. They go quarterback. Not sure who, but they go quarterback. Titans, I think you have your quarterback. Your offensive line needs a lot of freaking help. Titan fans need an offensive line. But I don't know who the coach is now. Mike Vrabel, I'm thinking offensive line here all day long. All day long. It's offensive line. It is 1,000% offensive line. So, I don't know who it's going to be now. I don't. The way that this is all playing out, I just don't know who it's going to be. Atlanta is right behind them, picking 8th. Atlanta needs a quarterback. Do they move up? Do they trade with the Cardinals? Do they trade with the Chargers? Do they move up? Do they leapfrog the Giants, who everybody knows needs a QB? Do they trade up? The Bears are at number 9. This is the pick I'm trading down easily. And I don't care where down I'm going. I'm trading down, and I want multiple picks for it. If you're at the end of the first, let's say you're a team that doesn't have a first-round pick. The Cleveland Browns. Do they need something? Are they going to cut a player? Do they know they're going to cut a player that they have to replace? Myles Garrett is there. At number 9, you're still probably going to have the defensive end from UCLA, Jaron Verse from Florida State. Chop Robinson will definitely still be there. I like him in a Cleveland Browns system. Absolutely. Like, there's multiple options here depending on what you want to do. And if you're the Bears, what if you get players for it? The Bears really have a lot of things set up. It's pretty good, but what if you get a wide receiver? They throw in a receiver. They give you their second and next year's first, maybe. And you give them your first. Pick number 9. This is a spot I think is going to be hard for Chicago because it just depends on how this one really depends on the first 8 picks. Who moves in, who moves out, where everybody goes to. I think it's going to be an all-time day for trades again on draft day, which I love. I love trades. Trades make me happy because it means you're trying to win. I never like teams that just sit stagnant. Bill Belichick constantly would move down in the draft to get more picks. What were they doing during those years? Winning. And winning a lot. What have the Rams done? Win. Trading their first rounds for players and getting a later pick out of it too. Trading back to get multiple picks. 49ers, same thing. Winning. Going into the draft and you just have one pick every round, you're failing. Yes, somebody has to only have one pick every round. I understand that. Some won't even have all 7 picks available. I get that. To be aggressive, to win, you have to be aggressive. So the next pick number 10, is the Jets. I think they stay here if they're smart, and if he falls to this spot, this is where Brock Bowers makes a ton of sense for Aaron Rodgers. Brock Bowers and Aaron Rodgers will work fantastic. I don't care if he's a rookie. And I don't think Rodgers will at the end of the day either. Brock Bowers is a smart kid, and Rodgers knows he's going to need him. Because your other guys, your buddies, can't get open. So I love Brock Bowers to the Jets here. The pick number 11 is the Minnesota Vikings. If Kirk Cousins is re-signed, this one really gets interesting. They've already got Jordan Addison. They've already got Justin Jefferson. They need a running back. They need offensive line, so I think that's where they lean here. I don't think, if they go defense, I think it'd be a pointless pick. They got pieces that they could trade on defense to get better pieces. This is the problem. So in this situation, I'm saying offensive line for the Vikings. Broncos, I don't know. I don't have a clue what Sean Payton's going to do. I don't. This is one I cannot tell you. I can't tell you because most of what we do when we're looking at a team, we're going, okay, but that's a need, that's a need. Where's the need for the Broncos? I'm not trying to be funny. Where's the need for the Broncos? It's quarterback. They've got their running back. They've got 2 really good receivers. The offensive line isn't bad. They could go offensive line here and potentially really shore it up pretty good. That's not a bad pick. They could go defensive line because their secondary is strong. But I don't know what he's going to do here. Do the Broncos trade back? Do they trade up? Are they going after a quarterback? What are they doing? Are they the team that trades for Justin Fields? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the Broncos. A lot of uncertainty about how this is going to play out. This is an interesting team. The intriguing team is now also the Raiders, who are picking 13th. The Raiders at pick number 13 aren't going to get a quarterback they really want. They don't have a ton of holes except offensive line. Secondary is kind of weak. We don't know what's going to happen with Josh Jacobs, but you got Devontae Adams. But There's a big, big rumor that says the Jets are going to make a play for Davante. Now, I said yesterday, if they don't hire Antonio Pierce as a head coach, they could lose Davante quickly. Antonio Pierce has been requested by other teams. I know Las Vegas was going to try to get that signing done easily and quickly. Not so much anymore. There's other players at the table. Not so much anymore. The Raiders at pick number 13 are really intriguing because you don't know who's going to be there. Garoppolo is still there. It's really unfortunate how bad the offense looked under McDaniels. Excuse me. I don't know what it's going to look like under Pierce. Aiden O'Connell is not the answer. So what do you do? Where do you go with this? I honestly don't know. I'll tell you the truth, I don't know. The pick doesn't feel solid no matter which way you slice it right now. It just, neither option feels great. So pick number 13 is the Raiders. As the head coaching stuff kind of settles down, whoever gets in there, then I'll probably have a better idea of what's going to happen. Pick number 14, the New Orleans Saints. It's a solid pick for this organization to have in a year that they believe they should have won the division. They definitely underachieved. I don't know. As of right now, it's Dennis Allen. He said he expects to be back. Nobody else said. Remember, on Monday, Pete Carroll said, I'm returning for my 15th season. Said he wasn't retiring. He got fired. Dennis Allen said, yep, I expect to be back. Well, let's see what happens on Thursday. Let's just see what happens. But pick number 14 for them gives them a lot of options. They can go anywhere and do anything with this pick, and I think it's a great pick for that organization and a great pick for a new coach potentially coming in. When you don't have a bunch of holes to fill, you can just, you got patches but not holes. So I like that pick for them. 15, the Indianapolis Colts. So help me. So help me. If we go defensive lineman, I will scream. Our defensive line does not need to be touched. Even if we lose Grover Stewart, we need secondary. We need Kool-Aid. We need Cooper DeJean. We need Denzel Burke. We need a corner. We need secondary. Maybe wide receiver if Pittman walks. For the Colts, it's a big game of you're running with AR, you're running with Jonathan Taylor, your tight ends, you got a lot of them, you don't need to draft another one. Your offensive line can use help. The injuries are piling up for Braden Smith. I'm not sure he's worth potentially keeping around. I mean, I'd have a really big conversation with him about taking a pay cut. Or restructuring the contract to incentives. The right guard, Will Fries, is not that good. The center, Ryan Kelly, he's continually digressed. He's not putting the line in a good position with blitz pickups at all. He's not seeing the field any better than the quarterback is. He doesn't look and he doesn't see everything. So I don't know how this is going to work out for the Colts. I don't know what's going to happen. It's a great pick for this organization at this point. The 15th pick in the draft on a 9-8 season, fantastic. All right, number 16, the Seattle Seahawks. We know it's a new head coach now. Don't know what's going to happen. Do they trade up? I swear the only thing they really need is a quarterback. In the next podcast, you're going to find out about all the free agents that are available. Seattle is not a bad option. Seattle is not a place that free agents are going to purposely avoid, especially depending on who your head coach is. Especially depending on who your head coach is. So I am not throwing out Seattle whatsoever, but I am absolutely going to throw them in for the fact that they could really go after this. And if they do, it's probably one of the smarter moves they can make here. I'd say go after it. I would say go after it. 1,000%. All right, number 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Disappointing season. But I am still 100% putting this on the Jaguars. There are people that are trying to blast Trevor Lawrence. Dudes, come on. Be smarter than that. This team had the division wrapped up until the Monday Night Football game in which he walked, limped 300 yards off the field. Yes, I know it wasn't that long. It was like 100 and whatever yards. The guy, he didn't even get to rest. They start him against Cleveland, which was the dumbest idea in the world. And then Christmas Eve weekend, like he didn't have any power behind his throws against Tampa Bay. So they lose to Cincinnati when he had him coming back. They lose to Cleveland on the road when Lawrence threw 3 interceptions, and those balls were so, there's nothing on him. He couldn't plant. There was no power. They lose to the Bucs. They lose those 3 games in a row, and all of a sudden the division is up for grabs again. That game against the Bucs, then he gets the injured shoulder. Now, could that have happened either way? Potentially. They beat the Jaguars because, beat the Panthers because, the Panthers didn't score any points in the final 2 weeks. And then they lost to a Titan team that was just playing hard. They wanted to spoil it if they could, and they ended up doing so. It's a division game. I'm not going to yell at you for losing a division game. The Giants roasted the Eagles. The Rams beat the Niners. Yes, it was all backups. The Seahawks pulled out a win on the road against the Cardinals. Like, just stop. Just stop. Okay? Jacksonville failed Trevor Lawrence, not the other way around. Trevor Lawrence is not the one that messed up the handling of his injury. He's going to heal up. They will be back. They had the AFC South completely in hand. They are still the best team in that division. I know the Texans won the division. I get it. They're still the best team in that division. Just look at their roster. It's good. Doug Peterson, I think, was told the same thing as Matt Eberflus. Listen, fix it. You can't fail again. That's why Caldwell's out. He's going to search for a new defensive coordinator. Could it be Wink Martindale, since he is now no longer with the Giants? That's a really big possibility, and I like that option. I really do. Could it be Jesse Minter from University of Michigan? Yeah, it could. I really like that option as well. There are multiple guys that you could bring into this slot. I think you really got to look at some college guys potentially moving up, guys that run college defenses. Saban leaves Alabama. His defensive coordinator could come to the NFL now. Harbaugh leaves for the NFL. His defensive coordinator follows him. Like, there is a legitimate thing about this that I like I said, I think Brandon Staley, if Raheem Morris gets a head coaching job, goes back to the Rams. I really think that that's potential. But you've got Brandon Staley, who has been fired. Potentially Jonathan Gannon, great, very good defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen, good defensive coordinator. Potentially. This is potential, and I understand that. Jacksonville looks really good. It's a really good pick for a team that doesn't have any holes. So they're going to be able to go wide receiver. They can go skill player. They can go line. They can go defense. It's open for them. Just like the next team, and pick number 18 is the Cincinnati Bengals. Rounding out the non-playoff teams are the Cincinnati Bengals. And kudos to Zach Taylor for putting them in the 18th position by going 9-8. Well done. Well done. They also, I think they probably go secondary. Not going to lie, I think they really got to look at secondary. Potentially offensive line, but I think they're really going to have to look secondary, would be my guess. If they lose T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, possibly wide receiver here. Possibly wide receiver. But it is an open pick for them as well. So there's the NFL draft. I'll run down through it here without any analysis and tell you straight, like I said, the graphic is on your screen as well. The Bears are number 1, Commanders 2. The Patriots are 3, the Cardinals are 4. The Chargers are at the 5th pick, the Giants have the 6th. The Titans get the 7th pick in the draft, with the Falcons getting the 8th. The Bears ended up with the 9th pick as well. The Jets are 10th, rounding out the top 10. Then we have the Vikings 11, the Broncos at 12, the Raiders at 13, the Saints at 14, and the Colts at 15. Your top 15 have a couple of surprises and really strong organizations, which is going to make this interesting. Number 16 is the Seahawks, 17 is the Jaguars, and number 18 is the Cincinnati Bengals. And that is your non-playoff team draft order for the 2024 NFL Draft. There you go, guys. The draft, some analysis. This is the initial response with the end of the season on the NFL Draft before the head coaches are hired. Before we know what this stuff's going to happen with free agency. This is just the initial area, and no trades have happened yet. But boy, oh boy, by the time we get to April, I know this is not going to be what we're looking at. Thank you so much for listening. If you're on Spotify, thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button. I deeply appreciate it. Guys, this has been Football Talk with Hawk. Tomorrow we're going to go over some free agents, go down the list of the unrestricted free agents. Who could your team possibly go get? That'll be tomorrow's episode. For Football Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk, and I'm out.